Good evening, friends, and welcome to evening prayer with the people of Trinity United Church in Prince George, British Columbia. Every evening we gather for prayer at about 8 p.m. Pacific, acknowledging all of the things we have faced this day, all of the emotions that have come our way, validating that experience, for it is what we have experienced, and offering all of that to God through prayer, trusting that as we place our whole selves in the crucible of God's grace, that love can transform everything we've experienced into something else, something grounded in the source of all our being. And so this evening, we do just that. We gather together for prayer. This evening, I need to say I'm going to do something a little bit different in that we're going to do a breath prayer eventually. It's going to be one where we put 3 breaths in between sentences that get shorter and shorter. We're going to start with the statement, "Be still and know that I am God," and then shorter and shorter and shorter, pausing between each statement for 3 cleansing, grounding breaths. Before we get there, though, we just need to take some time and acknowledge what we've all been experiencing. September is coming to an end, and it has been quite the month. If you think back at the beginning of September and think through all those days until today, we've had a lot of stuff to get used to. We've had things open up and stuff close back down. We've had COVID numbers increase and shrink, and increase again. We've become increasingly aware of the opioid crisis on our streets and the number of people dying every day of drug overdoses. We've had kids go back to school and some stay home to be schooled. We've had kids enter into classrooms thinking they're going to see all their friends and classmates from the previous year that they haven't seen since March break, only to discover that they're not coming back. They're staying home, or they're in another pod. Life has been about adjustment. We have people who were getting assistance from the government who are now wondering how much longer they will be or if they'll qualify for new programs. We have businesses that have closed their doors forever, and other ones that have opened for the first time. In the midst of it all, people have continued to do the very things that they always do. They've bought homes and moved and left jobs and started jobs. There have been births. There have been weddings. There have been funerals. And then we look around the world and go, what else has been going on? And we recognize that, well, if you paid any attention last night, south of the border, having a bomb shelter to go into where you can bar and lock the door until everything has settled down, the very things that preppers were made fun of for, that might make a lot of sense. The world seems to be going a little more off kilter all the time. And then you factor into the reality of September bringing to us the 6-month wall of COVID. People are even more frustrated, more annoyed, more tired from dealing with all of the pieces that come along with living through a global pandemic. People's fuses are shorter. Their anxiety is higher, quicker to anger. Anger lasts longer. The grief is deeper. Anxiety is more pervasive. All of those things are true, and they are very much valid experiences. We have people who are craving in-person physical contact with one another because that's who we are as human beings. You can't separate that stuff out. It's not healthy for us in the long term. And yet at the same time, there's a number of us that don't feel safe being in the same room with other people who aren't part of our intimate bubbles. COVID has changed how we look at community, and I'm not always sure it has changed it for the better. And then you have announcements around canceling Thanksgiving, don't gather together with family, don't invite friends over, don't do all of the things that we've become accustomed to doing that really makes Thanksgiving grounded in gratitude. Don't do it now, because if we do, then we might not be able to do it even at Christmas, and maybe not even Easter. September has been quite the month. So if you're feeling, as October is about to start, like you really wish you could just delete September, that you're feeling even more tired than you were back in May or June or July, if things just seem to pile on and you don't know why, or like you can't just get ahead, there's nothing coming off the plate, just more stuff piling on, I want you to know that you are not alone, that there are others experiencing the same kinds of things. Yes, each of our experience is unique to us, but we're not alone. And I think it's important to remind ourselves of that. And so this evening, I invite you to hold all of that in prayer and say out loud the people and places and events around the world that you'd like to hold in prayer this evening. Naming them aloud gives them a certain power, a certain presence, that simply saying them in our heads or under our voice doesn't do it. And so while I give my list, I also invite you to send those things into us here at Trinity United. Do it using the email address prayer@trinitypg.ca. Together, let's hold each other, our communities, and the world in prayer. And so this evening, I name Jim and Sylvia, Laura B., J.H., Donna, Aaron, Bevan, Jerry M., Ernie H., Tyrell, Kyle, Joanne, Joe M., Beverly M., R.P., Kirsten, Gordon and Marg S., Nathan and Anna, Karen K., Sig V., Colette. Everyone dealing with the impacts of forest fires on their lives and their loved ones. Those discerning who to vote for, who's the best leader, who do they identify with, whose values resonates with them. All folks on all the sides of fisheries disputes, particularly on the East Coast and also around the world. For our first responders who don't ever really know what they're going to face when the call comes. For those who are experiencing violence this day, like violence of body, mind, and spirit. We pray for the people of our Canadian Armed Forces and their families and those that support them, as they ponder what it means to stand on guard for thee. Together, let's hold all of these things and the pieces that you have named, the people, the places and events that are important to you. Let's hold them all together in prayer. And so we're going to get as comfortable as we can. If you can do it, put your feet on the ground, put your palms on the top of your knees. Let the tension go from your body. And we're going to take 3 breaths to start, and then share 3 breaths in between each statement. We're going to breathe in for 5, hold for 4, and push out the air for 6. So a count of 5 in, hold for 4, out for 6. Together, let's support one another. Let's extend our table so there's room for all of us, properly spaced, and join together in prayer. And so, friends, we take 3 deep breaths in through our nose, 4, 5, hold, 1, 2, 3, 4, and out, 5, 6. In, hold, out. In, hold, out. Once more. In, hold, out. Be still and know that I am God. In, hold, out. In, hold, out. One more. In, hold, out. Be still and know that I am. In, hold, out. In, hold, and out. In, hold, out. Be still and know. In, hold, out. In, hold, out. In, hold, and out. Be still and know. In, hold, out. In, hold, out. Last one. In, hold, and out. Be still. In, hold, out. In, hold, out. In, hold, out. Be, in, In, hold, out. In, hold, out. Be. Be still. Be still and know. Be still and know that I am. Be still and know that I am God. One last breath in and hold and out. So be it. Amen. Friends, thanks again for joining with me here at Trinity United Church in Prince George, British Columbia. Every evening at about 8 p.m. Pacific, Monday to Friday, we pause for evening prayer. We hope wherever you find yourself this evening, it's a place where you can be safe, be calm, and find ways of being community. Let's remember to wear our masks when we're in shared spaces. Make sure we keep washing and sanitizing our hands. Don't forget, particularly if you're in BC, pay attention to what's going on around the vote and make sure you do it. And let's gather together again tomorrow evening at 8 p.m. Pacific for evening prayer.